This GMP Detox session, we will talk today about GLP, so good laboratory practices. So how does that fit into the GMP Detox sessions? I think it's worth to understand what GLP is and what happens after GLP, GCP, GMP, GVP. We had a session also about that, and sometimes I find it interesting if I do audits of a GMP facility that people talk to me and say, we have here laboratory, the quality control laboratory, and it is run under GLP. In this moment, I understand that the regulatory framework was not really understood because the GLP principles are not applicable if you have a laboratory in the GMP environment, so you have a GMP manufacturing license, and so GLP is something else. So let's have a quick view on GLP. It's very interesting. So there is, I shared my screen again, and there you see a handbook of the WHO. So we start on a very global level for more or less 190 countries. And having a look into this book, GLP, Good Laboratory Practices, you see it here in this GLP handbook, very well described by the WHO, that you have different stages of development. They say timeline approximately 10 years. Today it can go much faster, but let's assume that this is okay, just to give you an impression. And there you see stage 2, non-clinical. So that's GLP. It might go to stage 3 clinical. So that's GCP, good clinical practices. And then we point to the post-approval, because today we want also have a few why compliance or quality assurance or computer system validation, data integrity is also important on this early stage 2 of 9 non-clinical reports. And there you see also one arrow saying manufacturing. This is when you start to produce your IMPs for the clinical studies. So, but today we stay with GLP. You will also find here some descriptions. Stage 2, the position of GLP studies within the drug development process is specified to the second stage. These studies are termed non-clinical as they are not performed in human. So if you go to a GLP facility, they often call it a facility, you might get this smell of rabbits and other animals. Like if I go with my little boy to a zoo shop, and then you have this very typical smell in your nose. So here also you see stage 3 belongs to GCP, very well described in simple words, and in stage 4 you hopefully get the marketing authorization. And then here they also have a link that's quite very interesting to pharmacovigilance procedure. So there we are at GVP. Okay, but today again, going back to GLP. What is also interesting in this context is a kind of global harmonization approach. You might know the ICH. It's nowadays called the International Council for Harmonization. Formerly, it has the name International Conference on Harmonization. Sometimes if I do SOP reviews, I still find the old naming. It's not very critical, but have an eye on that. ICH is the International Council for Harmonization. And the idea is to harmonize regulations for different regions or countries, like the US FDA is part of that, the EMA, Europe, and Japan. So we are on the same level regarding the different regulations and the requirements that we have with pharmaceutical medicinal products. What is also important to understand, the ICH does not only provide the Q here, the quality guidelines, also S for safety, E and M. We'll have a few on the M documents in here. It's called multidisciplinary guidelines. And the idea is for the pharmaceutical industry, If we want to have a marketing authorization, we do a submission. It's called the Common Technical Documents. That the format of this submission looks very identical, with only some little differences between Europe and the US, for example. And so they have defined this, the Common Technical Documents. I think now that is quite very nice to see how even on a global level that countries and regions can work together, especially if it's something about that important. And it doesn't matter if you want, if you send your submission to the US FDA or to the EMA, the format is nearly exactly identical. It's very pretty much the same. So if you go into M4, for example, ICH guidelines, and here you see the power of the ICH. That's very interesting. This ICH guidelines are rolled out in different steps, and step 4 is the final one, and step 5 when it's integrated into the different agencies, like here, step 5, guideline M4 in step 5 put into the guidelines of the EMA, the European Medicines Agency, sorry. And you find exactly the same here in a US FDA guidance for industry. Yeah, it's exactly the same chapter numbering, the same stuff written in it, the same format. And here it's quite very interesting. You see it here also. Let's go to Europe quickly. Exactly the same stuff. Okay, not very nice here from a graphical point of view. And here you see they call it the CTD triangle. So what should be part of a submission? You can imagine that even if you have a TMF, trial master file system, for example, that parts of this are put into it. And then there's a bridge into the agencies. So we don't have a view on that today, but to have a wider view on that. So where do your GLP reports are coming in? It's here in module 4, non-clinical study reports. So you have a study plan and you have a study protocol or a study report, for example. And the study report from the GLP section is going here into module 4. So sometimes if I do audits at GLP sites, they always or sometimes focus on kind of their scientific approach. So it could happen that they say, yeah, validation, data integrity, it's not that important, and our report is maybe, no, it's not. Very simple. GLP reports are very important, and they are part of the common technical documents. So it's part of your submission to an agency, and the things will be reviewed. And the data integrity, the data source of the GLP records could be questioned or investigated and so on. It is part of the module 4 non-clinical study reports. And that's the reason why you also see the ICH, or then in the US FDA EMA documents, it's called in the M4 area. If you go to national regulations, I have taken here the German one because I'm a German, so, but it's very similar. We will also put something else into it. So this is not put into the pharmaceutical regulations. It's put to the Chemical Act because this is where it should be. You can also switch here with Google to the English version, Principles of Good Laboratory Practices. And again, it is part of the Chemical Act, for example, in Germany. Also in other European countries, it is defined like this. If we look over the C, then we find the ECFR system of the US FDA, the Code of Federal Regulations. And even here, you see it, it's in Title 21 CFR in Part 58. And Part 58 is put into Chapter 1 in the subchapter A, and you find it here, Part 58, Good Laboratory Practices for Non-Clinical Laboratory Studies. So it's here, it's a predicate rule. If you would compare it with GMP or CGMP for the US FDA, you find CGMP here in subchapter C. So yes, because just the chronological order is reflected here by the numbering system So you have here our part 210, 211, for example. At the end of the day, part 58 and even national regulations and laws sometimes are a little bit brief. There's one general overview, which is quite very good. You might know the OECD, and the OECD is taking care also on kind of harmonization of all applicable guidelines for good laboratory practices, and it's good to know them. I opened here in Germany. We have also a general Federal Institute for Risk Assessment. So even if you think about my mobile phone, my cell phone, will it kill me because of whatever? So usually a government is doing a risk assessment on that. Don't forget that. Okay, and this great institute doing a fantastic job is also providing the OECD guidelines. I like this sorting that they have on their website, because on the original OECD website, you see that this is quite very small, but that's originally where it is. And if you look on that, you will find here the OECD principles of good laboratory practices and so-called advisory documents, which are very well written. Fantastic job there in Switzerland, Geneva. For example, number 17, this is something that I check during audits, or if I do consultancy services to the GLP area, application of GLP principles to computerized systems. Very well written. Even look what these guys are doing. There's a supplement number 1 to this number 17, an advisory document on GLP and cloud computing. So basically it's pretty much current. Thanks for that. And there you also find GLP data integrity, or relatively new, I think, is quality assurance and GLP, what the QA function is in GLP. So it's good to understand the setup where the non-clinical study report of GLP, that it will be part of a submission. And the OECD documents are very well written. You have maybe a regulation, a law on top of that, and then you will find this OECD documents quite very well written. Just one example, for example, that's from part 22, data integrity. If you would take such a buzzword like review of data audit trails, you see here the first sentence is they use a very good language and a very good methodology. First sentence is, don't make yourself mad and crazy. It is not necessary for audit trail reviews to include every system activity. So that's quite a very good start. It's very well written with user access and so on, and the different references and so on, so that you just get an overview and that you can navigate through the GMP world, and that you know where the things will come up, where they are coming from. And there we have the CTD triangle, that the GLP reports will be ending up here in module 4 of your submission. So yes, it's very important. Again, we started like this. If you run a GMP facility and you have there a QC, quality control laboratory, don't call that GLP. The GLP principles are in a different area, in a different corner. Sometimes I hear that just because of the word laboratory, it does not apply to any laboratory. Okay, so that was the GLP session in the GMP Detox series of today. I hope you liked it, and give me a like. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel. My name is Markus Römer. Have a great day. Thank you so much.